And you know what? Where they're sitting there at the end of the third round with 3 picks, if they are fine with that second group, Jake Haener, Tanner McKee, DTR, Jaron Hall, Clayton Tune, Duggan, if they like that group of quarterbacks, they're gonna have their pick of them. So
Right.
I didn't, if 3 days ago, if you'd said Niners are gonna go quarterback with one of those top 3 picks, I would have said no way.
Yeah.
Now I think it's very likely they go quarterback with one of those top 3 picks.
Absolutely. Like if they want to slow play it with Brock because they think he could be their quarterback for a long time and they just give him a year off, well, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, it's possible neither one is the answer. And you might need to draft a guy, not with the last pick, not with the 7th round pick to go on the practice squad, but to potentially start at some point, if not right away. So if Kyle's making that decision and he falls in love with a guy, he's not going to wait around. He took CJ Beathard in round 3. He'll take someone in round 3. So who do you think, who's your favorite of these potential options?
I like Jaron Hall from BYU.
Okay.
Great athlete, has some Mahomes escapability. Like, how Mahomes plays from the pocket, looks to play in the pocket, but then once a game busts you for like a 45-yard run down the middle, and he shows like all kinds of speed. That's this guy, Jaron Hall. I like him a little bit more. Also like Max Duggan a little bit. I mean, I like, there's a number of quarterbacks I like, but as far as when you look at where the NFL is going, you got to have some movement ability. You can't just be that pocket guy. So for that reason, I don't like McKee.
Tanner.
I think he's going to get crushed. And then Aiden O'Connell, I think, is another pocket passer. So I think it's down to like, you'll be like Duggan, Clayton Tune, DTR, Jaron Hall. I think those are probably the choices. And of that group, I like Jaron Hall the most, and then probably Duggan.
I like Jaron Hall's deep ball. He throws a real nice deep ball. He seems like he can do everything. He can get the ball out of his hands quickly. He can move. He can push the ball down the field. Only thing with him, I don't care about his age, but I think one thing that the Niners have shown is they're not necessarily great at teaching quarterbacks the basics. They kind of need guys who are experienced and developed. And he's kind of like Beathard, 700 throws in college, 2-year starter. That's nothing to sneeze at, but we both prefer DTR. And I think one of the reasons they're probably so intrigued with him is because, like Purdy, he played a ton in college. And I think that particular type of quarterback really does well with the Niners.
No doubt. And you always, to me, it's not the guy's old. It's how did he get here? Why is he an older player? This guy's an older player because he served an LDS mission. Correct. So he
was sitting behind Zach Wilson.
Yeah. And this guy's married with a kid. I mean, this is a very mature player. I'm
not concerned about the age. I don't care about Hendon Hooker's age either.
No. But the thing about DTR that makes me not wonder about him as a player, but just wonder about their interest is the fact that they've had 3 meetings with him. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like that's probably a smokescreen, isn't it? I mean, or do they?
Right. No, it's possible they want him to go
like make everybody think we want this guy because we want that guy.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, he was originally looked at as like a day 3 pick, but his stock is up, and maybe the Niners think, well, if someone takes him in the 90s, then someone we really want drops to us, like Drake Jackson did that for them last year. Maybe that's the thing, or maybe they really want this kid.
Yeah, they might really want him, and they just want to talk to him. So I mean,
I just feel like if they like Purdy,
you don't know what's a smokescreen and what isn't.
I feel like he's a combination of Purdy and Lance. He's got Purdy's experience, but Lance's athleticism. And I think both of those things appeal to the 49ers. Not to take anything away from Purdy's feet, because it is not. He is a playmaker. But I think they want, Jalen Hurts style playmaking, a guy you can actually run 11, 12 times a game like Trey. And Thompson Robinson was that kind of guy in college, even though he's a little bit smaller.
He's lean, but he's 6'2", very fast, very experienced. He doesn't. Yeah. You're not going to fool him a whole lot. He's seen it all. Mm-hmm. I thought this year there were times. I mean, you're a UCLA guy, so you probably watch him more than I do. But I thought there was times this year where UCLA's offense looked kind of borderline unstoppable.
It was so
him and
good.
Charbonnet and the tight end.
No receivers you can name.
Yeah, I mean they had the one big tight end, but I mean they had basically Charbonnet.
Yep.
And DTR. And DTR just made a lot of plays on third down. So there was times this year where DTR looked great. And to me, he's a rhythm guy. If he's in rhythm, I mean, he's dangerous.
And you put him on this team with Christian McCaffrey, Debo, and Ayuk and Kyle Shanahan. Like, now he comes from a spread offense. He played for Chip Kelly. I mean, you probably wouldn't start him week 1 or year 1, But man, he's got a lot of things that appeal to the 49ers, and he could have a lot of success here. He went to UCLA. They don't have really any wide receivers anyone can name that are in the NFL. So
And
something
not
there.
only that, he was a great high school. He went to Bishop Gorman in Vegas.
Yep.
It's a big powerhouse high school. He was a great player in high school. I mean, this guy's been on the radar of NFL people for years and years.
Yeah. I wonder what they think of how Chip Kelly coached him. I mean, he is an NFL coach, even though he's a college coach too. It seems like maybe they feel Chip prepared him for what he's going to have to face. I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, the one thing about the one thing I mean you can say is Chip uses a lot of gadget plays, a lot of the quick game, a lot of the stuff right around the line of scrimmage. Your footwork has to be on point. Your timing has to be on point. Your
Yeah.
knowledge of play and ability to carry out play fakes has to be on point. I mean, there's some carryover from what Chip does to what Kyle does.
Yeah, and it's like if CJ Stroud from Ohio State can go in the top 5, then what's the I mean, didn't that coach work with didn't he come from Oregon? I mean, like what's the difference? It seems like you can't that's not you can't use that against quarterbacks as much anymore. And you probably shouldn't be scouting offenses either. It seems like people like Will Levis because of the offenses he was in, not so much of what he did in college as opposed to this kid.
Yeah, I mean, Will Levis just didn't win in college, but he held the ball really long. He made a lot of mistakes. If you watch Kentucky, they weren't very good. I mean,
Right.
and they weren't very consistent. I mean, people just fall in love with Levis because he's 6'3", 230, and he's got the best,
Prototype.
yeah, the best gun
Yeah.
probably in the whole class.
And he comes from that traditional system and he can fit your offense. Like forget your offense and fitting someone into it. Why don't you get the best quarterback and work with him? I'd like to see if Kyle would do that. I almost feel like I don't take this DTR thing seriously because I don't think he would ever draft a quarterback who comes from a spread offense. I think that's why he passed on Mahomes and why he didn't take Justin Fields and why he liked Trey Lance at first. I think he scouts the offense, and I just can't see it. But I'd like to. That would be growth for him if he could if he could take DTR.
I'll tell you one thing too. It's like I don't like quarterbacks that don't win in college. I mean, it's like, nobody thought TCU was going to be in the
True.
national championship game, but they were.
True. Yep.
So to me, I'll give Duggan a little bit. I'll mark him a little higher for having
Good
won at
call.
TCU. So
Yeah.
that's the only thing when you look back at some of these guys like Levis from Kentucky, it's like they didn't win very much.
Right.
And it's like, wouldn't they have won a lot if he was really special? It's kind of, you always got to kind of wonder about that.
Yeah. How many quarterbacks who didn't win much in college ended up being great? John Elway's one. Is there another? I mean, Jared Goff didn't win much in college, and he might be another one, although he's kind of had an up and down career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Although he did win some.
I mean, Mahomes didn't have an
Mahomes.
unbelievable record in
Mahomes.
college.
Thank you, Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
hard to evaluate these quarterbacks, but sometimes you got to
Yeah.
take the
Yeah.
surrounding cast. You got to factor that in as well. But it's just like if you're really great and you're so great, you're going to be an NFL star. Couldn't you elevate your college team to being a winning
Should.
team? I mean, like
Should.
to me, I look at what Duggan did this year, leading TCU to 12-1, and I think, you know what, that kid might be an interesting mid-round guy.